is Chelsea Horrocks, and my study is entitled The Myth of the Female Sex Offender. My research question is, how prevalent are female sex offenders, and do they differ from male sex offenders? The relevance of my research is several things. The first, that the public often believes incorrectly that all sex offenders are male. The evidence suggests a need to dispel myths about female sex offending. Female perpetrated sex crimes are seen as less harmful, and therefore the women receive less severe sentences than male sex offenders. This allows for their crimes to continue. My study is a qualitative case study analysis. I reviewed theoretical models of sexual offending. I am doing an exploratory assessment of treatment modalities for female sex offenders, and I use public records to evaluate the applicability of typologies to 2 high-profile case studies. The prevalence of sexual offending. In 1999, there were an estimated 285,000 child victims of sexual assault, ages 18 and under. In 2006, one survey reported that there were nearly 300,000 victims of rape and sexual assault, ages 12 and over. Although it is clear that the vast majority of victims of sexual assault are female, we have no clear sense of the percentage of offenders who are female. The 4 main theories of sexual offending are biological, cognitive, behavioral, and social learning. Biological theories of offending include abnormalities in the frontal or temporal lobes, cerebral blood flow, and neurotransmitters. These frequently cause deficiencies in the ability to communicate with one's peers. Offenders with these types of abnormalities are generally child molesters. Cognitive theories of offending. Cognitive distortions or consistent thinking errors are the unconscious influences on a person's actions. Behavioral theories of offending include the role of reinforcement and punishment in the establishment of a behavior. Social learning theories suggest that behaviors are learned through observation. This includes the abused-abuser situation, as well as the influence sexually violent pornography can have. Typologies are necessary because they give us a better understanding of the motivations, patterns, and techniques of sex offenders. They also incorporate the differences among sex offenders, the use of violence and/or weapons, allowing for treatment to be more effective. In 1979, Groth and Birnbaum established a typology of rapists. They interviewed over 500 rapists, but only 3 women were included in the sample. The 3 categories that they established are anger, power, and sadistic rapists. Anger rapists assault their victims physically and sexually. They do not know their victims and cannot even identify them after the assault. The rape is motivated by a desire to humiliate the victim, and rape is the most demeaning way to assault a person. Power rapists desire to control their victims. It is not unusual for a power rapist to attack during a date. Sadistic rapists torture and mutilate their victims. They are more likely to have a type. They take pleasure in the torture of their victims and not the sexual act itself. They are also more likely to commit sexual homicide. This typology is inadequate for female offenders because of their lack of inclusion in the study. In 2004, Van Diver and Kircher performed a study of 471 registered female sex offenders in Texas. Because they used the information provided in the registry and official arrest data, rather than interviews with the offenders, this typology provides very little information about the offender's motivation. This study established 6 categories: heterosexual nurturer, non-criminal homosexual offenders, female sexual predators, young adult child exploiters, homosexual criminals, and aggressive homosexual offenders. Heterosexual nurturers are most likely to be in a teaching or mentoring role to their victim. They victimize only males and view their abuse as a relationship to the victim. Non-criminal homosexual offenders are most likely to have a male co-offender and have female victims. Young adult child exploiters have very young victims with an average age of 7. This category includes mothers molesting their children. Homosexual criminals are often economically motivated to commit their crimes. They prostitute their victims. Aggressive homosexual offenders victimize adults and are likely to be in a relationship with their victims. Sex offenders are a very diverse population. They range from violent to nonviolent and are all motivated by different reasons. For my case studies, I reviewed literature on Deborah Lefebvre and Carla Homolka, who are essentially at opposite ends of the spectrum. Deborah Lefebvre was a teacher at Greco Middle School in Florida in 2004. She was 23 years old when she met her victim. He was 14 at the time. Their affair lasted for a very short time before the boy's mother discovered it and contacted the police. Deborah was charged with 4 counts of lewd and lascivious battery and 1 count of lewd and lascivious exhibition. She agreed to a deal proposed by the district attorney in an attempt to protect the victim from the trial. In 2005, she pled guilty to 2 counts of lewd and lascivious battery. Her sentence was 3 years of house arrest and 7 years of probation. She shares most characteristics in common with the heterosexual nurturer category of Van Diver and Kircher's typology. Her victim was a 14-year-old male, and she viewed the abuse as a relationship, even going so far as to apply to teach at the high school he would be attending the following year to continue their relationship. Carla Homolka, along with her husband Paul Bernardo, sexually assaulted and murdered 3 girls. The first was Carla's younger sister Tammy. The others were Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, teenagers. They were 14 and 15. In 1993, Carla's husband, Paul, who had been physically abusive through their entire relationship, beat her with a flashlight, and after which she contacted a lawyer and then the police to turn in her husband. Because she provided the information necessary to convict her husband, Carla was given a plea bargain. She pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree murder. She received a 12-year prison sentence and was released in 2005. The findings of my study include that existing typologies for male sex offenders are inadequate to explain female sex offenders because of differences in the motivational factors. Van Diver's typology, although important in understanding female offenders, is incomplete because it fails to include motivational factors. A limitation of this study was the use of 2 cases which were reliant on public record.